down here with. Do I go to that, do I come here, do I do this?
Oh, you're talking about Kusandy?
One of your grandkids from?
Yeah, Kevin's
No,
youngest.
I'm thinking about in July, we go out to Pine Lake.
I see
know
all
what
of
that
these
is.
kids.
Are we
doing-
Strawberries.
are we ready?
Oh, I think Paul's not here today. I saw him point out when we,
All right,
That sounds nice enough.
For that,
Brothers and servers is good.
Cable, we ready?
it's traveled
Like
everywhere.
cable should have
And
like
it's
a
expensive.
light to flash it.
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
Thank you, thank you,
Ready?
thank you.
All right.
I'm so
We
happy,
assume they're ready?
yeah, I mean, Zoom's up, so.
Zoom's up. All right.
I am so happy, I don't know.
Good
what
evening.
tomorrow is.
Welcome to Select Board meeting. It is Monday, June 8th, 2026. It is 6:01 PM according to my computer. We are here at the library lower level. We are also on Zoom. Welcome to anyone who is here with us on Zoom. As noted on the agenda, this meeting is being recorded. And the meeting is hereby called to order. Could we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge of Allegiance.
The United States of America,
And
To the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Could I get a motion to sign Treasury warrant 2625 and 26 payroll 25?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Sorry.
All in favor?
Oh, aye.
Wait a minute.
Shut the phone.
Second, I.
And Dib, aye. Thank you very much. And we have minutes from May 27th, the regular meeting. Those were in your packets. Could I get a motion to approve?
Motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion or changes? So that's as presented. All in favor?
All right.
Wait a minute.
Second, I.
Aye, thank you very much. For public comment, I had a couple of things and I closed the window. I just want to say congratulations to all the graduates from Rutland at the various high schools that they all graduated from, including, of course, Wachusett in the past week, as well as Bay Path and the private schools as well. Obviously, town is very proud of you. I also wanted to say congratulations for the first farmers market that happened last Wednesday. Just like every good farmers market, if you want bread, you have to get there early. I did not get there early, but had I gotten there early, there were already the makings of a really good burger. There was bread, there was beef, there was microgreens, there was somebody who had pickles and relish, and so they're off to a great start. Hope you'll go this Wednesday. They are back again on the Common. I was remiss at our last meeting to recognize the 5-year anniversary of John Sanji. I believe the police department had posted about it a little bit after our meeting, so I just wanted to make a note that that was a big anniversary for this town, so that's that. Is there anybody on the board who had anything for public comment announcements? Okay. Onward.
Thank you.
Name and address, please.
Lou Carniccioli, 18 Blueberry Lane, Rutland, Mass. Two things, I'll try to be as brief as possible. Douglas knows that's virtually impossible for me to be brief, so I'll try though, Doug. First of all, I want to comment on the 3-level meeting I attended the other day. I thought it went very well. I was impressed. I thought people were in control. You did a good job, Madam Chair, of directing everybody in the right direction. And I thought people were very civil with one another. The only exception was at the end of the meeting, just near the tail end of the meeting, a member of the Finance Board made a remark concerning the previous chairman of the Board of Selectmen about her being reluctant to send information out, so forth and so on. And I was a little bit taken back by that, and even more taken back by the fact that 4 members of the Select Board who served with her last year sat quietly and never called her on that. And I was a little bit surprised by that because, as you know, I was a selectman. In fact, I was fortunate enough to serve my 9 years with Doug, a really good guy. And through those 9 years, I was chairman. So I know what the role of the chairman is. And yes, I ran meetings, and yes, I would represent, and yes, I would do this. And there was, and I can read it for you, but I won't. It's right here on my phone. I looked it up. But I was just one of 3. I had no extraordinary power. I couldn't say what was going to happen, what was not going to happen. I ran the meeting, but when the meeting had an agenda. And so I was kind of surprised that that remark was let go, unless things have changed. Now, I got off in 2006, but I just looked up the literature under MGL, and it doesn't seem to have changed much since I got off. So I was just a little taken back by that.
If I may, I 100% agree with you, and I owe Jen Ledger a personal apology. I sort of swore when I left the board that I would never let that happen again, and I guess it took me by surprise. The rest of the meeting had gone well, and shame on me for not speaking up. So Lou, I agree with you 100%,
Thank you.
and I will reach out to Jen personally.
Thank you. Now, my second point, again, I'll try to be brief. With all that's going on in the town with budgets and all stuff, I think I'm gonna get myself more involved in what's going on. I'm gonna start to go to more meetings. So I took it the other day, I went over to the finance board meeting. And I sat in with their meeting. And most of the people, at least the majority of the people on the finance board, I know. I've known the chairman since he was a little kid on Anthony Drive. I believe that's where he was from the Ross family, very nice family. Rushala, I mean, when I was in 9 years that I was a selectman, he was a fire chief. So I have some thoughts about these people. I think they're honorable people. My concern is, and I'm gonna keep better attention, is the negativity that seems to be sent by them. I don't think it's vicious that they, trying to be really mean, but they're taking a lot of pop shots at the schools. One of the quotes the other day was, "We're losing 19 people, they're not losing any bodies, so are they really taking a hit?" I didn't think that you had to lose bodies for your budget and for your programs to be hit and take a hit. They obviously have programs that they could eliminate or change or whatever and come back with a budget. So I was a little bit taken back by that. When Doug and I were selectmen, I got elected in '98. Just after I got elected, it was the schools, and not that the schools did it directly, but the schools being part of our town, the state of Massachusetts changed the funding for regional schools. And back in those days, if you look back, we were still a relatively low-income community. We were still building ranch houses, not $900,000 split levels or up and downs like we're building now. I understand somewhere in town, there's gonna be some $1 million houses built. And bravo, it's a great town. I hope people come out here. But because of that, the state gave us much more money. I remember Holden took us to different venues 3 or 4 times to try and get us to pay the equal dollar amount that they were paying. And I was fortunate enough to be able to represent Rutland at those meetings, and all I said to the people was, we're just doing what the state's telling us to do. So my point being that those were the days when education bailed out Rutland, and we built the police station, and we built this beautiful building that we're in right now. We were able to do that. We were able to build the DPW building. We were able to build the elementary school because education was helping us on the other side of the ledger, namely the town. So I'm just imploring everybody in our community. The worst thing, and I'm going to continue to go to finance board meetings, because like I said, I like the people there. They're nice people. But we have to work together. This is not the time for us to be banging away at one another. Well, you're not taking a hit, we're taking it. No, there's a better way to conquer what we did. And back in the early 2000s, the schools were able to help. They were able to help, and they were able to bail out the community. So it's all cyclical. So I would just hope that we would stop knocking one another and move forward together, because we have enough problems, and that we stay very positive. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else here for public comment? Yes. Name and address, please.
Mike Varakis, Stevens Way. I can echo right on what Louis said. Time is to come together. The one thing I've been watching over the last few weeks, last couple of weeks since the election, is there has been a lot of things, social media, public. I'm getting phone calls, people sending me emails. Why are we doing this? People that voted no are hurt and saying, why are they blaming us? We're just trying to do what's right for our families. The problem is the state, and we all know it. The state funding's off. Louis' right, the way they changed the funding on the school and the regional schools, it's pitiful. Until that policies change, and we gotta continue advocating. We need this as a town to come together, and the boards need to come together to work with them, strengthen that. But in the meantime, understand the people in town. Heather did a wonderful job going through, the town administrator, it's that empathy and trying to give the empathy. We know many people in this town can afford things, and some people can afford to go to Florida in winter, and other people can't do anything. I've had people come to me and say to me, I'm still paying my oil bill. I voted no. Where are those people coming in here and saying, give us the override, do another one, we can't pay anything? They're asking for help, and I know I've talked to some of you about adding more help. We need to look at that. We need to bridge this together. Because there are people that are telling me, they're saying, we voted no. They know the consequences of the override. Don't think that people don't. They do. They know. I've had people tell me they're afraid in the wintertime. Will they get plowed? What happens if they need services? Are they gonna get plowed? They want it, but they can't pay for it. I worked as a police officer in the 80s in a town didn't have 24-hour ambulance services. And back then, part-timers could work full-time. Now they've changed the rules on that too. And I was in at 2 o'clock in the morning. Our dispatchers weren't trained. At least we got trained dispatchers that can help in that delayed time. But these people are also crying. They want to work together. And I think what we need to do is find a way to bridge the gap and bring everything for the services of the people to help them as much as we can. And even people with higher incomes. Look at West Brookfield, down to override. They're closing their only elementary school. The little kids got to go further away. Templeton is going to go without police officers from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. It's unheard of, but it's affordability. That's the key word that all of us are hearing, morning, noon, and night in this state. And it begins there and trickles on down. But until we get the help, we need to work together. All of us. You've got 5 members up there that are very smart people. Don't bicker back and forth with each other. Come up with ideas. 5 minds. One thing that I've said for the last 2 years, and every time I've spoken, is said, differences can lead to solutions if we work together. Let's do that. For this town, the town we love. I've been here 21 years. I'm not going away. I'm gonna stay here. I'm gonna be outspoken. And my name's gonna be right there on a continuous basis. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. All right, is there anybody else here for public comment?
I had communications on the agenda. Do you want me to wait till then or speak now?
I think if it's on the agenda, we should probably just hang out, but,
That's
okay.
Whatever works better for the
All right, thank you. All right, I'm gonna move on to the board and committee appointments. For anybody who's watching or who is new to this, the majority of the appointed seats on all of our boards and committees who do so much good work in this town expire on June 30th. They don't all expire on June 30th, and it is staggered. So you won't see an entire board and committee come up for reappointment. Generally speaking, it is a percentage of those members. So the board has received a list of letters of intent as part of your packet. You've gotten recommendation letters from some of the boards and committees already, but not all. And then we have a master sheet, the appointment list, which runs down every single one along with some notes as to whether or not we're still waiting on recommendations from the full board committee, et cetera. We've got some options tonight. We could take action on the ones that are ready. We could hold them for the last meeting of June, which is certainly fine if that's what somebody would want. Paul's not here, obviously, so we could certainly do that. And also, this is the time for any questions. So for example, if you had a question about a letter of intent or about a recommendation that you wanted to send back to that relevant board or committee, this would be the time to do that.
I think with Paul not being here, I think it's worth waiting to do them. If we're already considering waiting to do them, I think we could wait to do them until Paul is present to give his opinion as well.
Okay.
Seems appropriate to me.
Okay, yeah, I mean, we've got several that we're still gonna be waiting on anyway, so RDIC we're waiting, I believe, Earthworks we're waiting, I'm just looking at the highlighted in yellow here. We've got a little bit of a slightly complicated one on conservation, not that complicated, yeah. CIPC waiting for a recommendation, so yeah, So again, does anybody have any questions or comments that we wanna go back to the boards with? Otherwise, we're gonna hold this for our next regular meeting.
I'm comfortable holding, and I think that that's,
Yeah, I'm okay holding. I mean, as long as we know that they'll be ready, hopefully, when the time comes.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm okay with that.
I think they were getting there, so, alright.
I just, if I may, Sheila, the only thing is I see on the master list that the ZBA is not meeting until June 25th. And we'll vote on their recommendations at that time, and I believe our last meeting is June 22nd, so, it sounds like we won't have the ZBA's recommendations by that time, so I just wanna,
Yeah, can we reach out to them and just see if they wanna have a quick special meeting, see what they wanna do?
So, they preferred to wait until that scheduled meeting. They were not very concerned because they only meet on an as-needed basis. So if they have to wait until your first meeting in July, it would not have an impact on their business.
Perfect, alright, I think that answers the question.
Okay.
Okay, I am moving on to the special town meeting. As it's noted on the agenda, it says that it's a draft, but of course the warrant is final and posted, correct? Thank you very much. And there were some comments about it at, I believe, at the last FinCom meeting, which of course we didn't attend that, with some concerns about Article 1 and the language of it.
The
So
language of the explanation,
Excuse
not the
Thank you.
language of the warrant. The
solid
warrant-
clarification,
Thank
the
you.
language of the explanation. So two things. We've obviously heard from a lot of people about communication and transparency and how we wanna get better. This is going to be a short meeting, so let's try to get better. And I guess I wanna ask the members that are here, something that has historically gotten lots of towns in trouble, ours included, is trying to include too much information on the posted warrant as opposed to on the supporting documentation. Might have been the case here, might have been the reason why the FinCom kind of homed in on that. It kind of looks to me like a scrivener's error. When I read it as what we understood it to be, which was we have to consider the amount that was presented to us that was voted on by the school committee. The FinCom is reading it, I think, slightly differently, and so the fact that there's any difference of opinion there is worth a talk.
Absolutely. I think that the Rutland's custom of including explanations on your posted warrant might be worth a look, especially when you're having a special town meeting and your window for the review process is so short. I think that the explanations are really vital to how the community interprets the requested action. And I think it is definitely worth having multiple opportunities to review and discuss. But with a special town meeting warrant that is only open for a couple of days, and the custom of printing explanations in the posted warrant, these things are gonna come up. But that's one issue, and we can certainly address that for the next special town meeting. I just flag it as to where I think we could avoid this going forward.
So just so we're clear,
Yeah.
if everybody's looking at Article 1 on the explanation, it's literally the last line and a half. That quote, "The town is required to fund its full certified share of the regional school budget." It's required to vote on it, and it could be required to fund it should 4 towns pass it, regardless of what Rutland does. But you can see how the language maybe would make somebody reading it on first pass kind of go, "Ooh, what do you mean?" So, again, it's the explanation, not the article. We can change the explanation.
Right, and I think for transparency's sake, perhaps additional language rather than striking or removing
Yep.
language. That way, the transparency remains available for people following along. And I guess I'll just also put out there that if the select board, when they conclude this portion of the warrant review, I'd like to talk about your thoughts on how we wanna share motions, cause that was another issue that came up after the annual, is that the motions were not available to residents to review. So how this all comes together as a package that can be just shared with the residents in advance of Tuesday's meeting.
Great.
thank you.
So is it fair to say we wanna make some clarifications to that when we release the motions document at least?
I mean, I think
Yeah.
all you have to do there is just add, full certified share of the regional school budget if approved by 4 of the 5 towns.
Right.
And I think that's
Yeah.
all we have to add to
Yeah.
clarify that.
Right.
Okay.
And I think historically, I haven't been in town nearly as long as some of you, but I think for a long time, we haven't had the explanations on the warrants and we haven't even had the recommendations posted on the warrants. And I think, and we used to not even have hard numbers in the warrants. It would just say,
Those are-
and I think we've gotten ourselves in under the guise of transparency, but it becomes, to your point, Heather, a little bit more cumbersome as we're trying to work through things. We often know the numbers are changing right up until town meeting, because as we get new information from the state or from any of the departments, or if grants or whatever have come in, that changes. I also had questions even for the recommendations. Are we recommending the warrant articles or are we recommending the motions? Because that got us into trouble in the annual meeting with the Wachusett budget, because the select board had recommended favorable on the Wachusett article that was presented, which was fully funding it, and then the motion was different than what the article had specified. And so I think that's another piece of, are we making the recommendation, what are the recommendations on?
And this speaks to some of the materials that I shared on Friday, that if you look at DLS guidance and what the general laws say has to be on your posted warrant, it's a lot less than what we provide. That isn't to say that we don't wanna continue to provide additional information as the warrant process progresses, so that by the time everybody gets to town meeting. But I think we could do a better job of preparing our voters for town meeting if we weren't trying to get it all on one piece of paper that gets posted so early in the process. I think we can actually improve our transparency if we took it step by step through the process from the approval of the warrant to town meeting.
Yeah, so obviously this one, like so much of what's happening since the election, has been pretty fast paced. So we're gonna tweak this one, we're gonna make sure we have it correct and as clear as we can for everybody. When we get to the special, I think we should really talk about making some more substantive changes, particularly to the warrant itself, which is really just meant to be the legal information about what we are about to talk about, when we're about to talk about it, done. It's the supporting information that we're supposed to be transparent with, so, yeah, okay, great. So,
Thank you for that.
that said, to that point, as it's presented and as it got put in, there are spaces in the posted warrant for select board recommendations. So this would be the time. So we have our 3 articles, one of which is a resident petition. We could certainly take no action on that. But for the other 2, it is at the pleasure of the board if you would like to make a motion to support individually or as just the 2 of them.
You want a motion potentially if we support,
So I mean, we can
The
pick
2
it,
articles.
yeah, so it's either 2 together or one at a time. We could we can do one at a time.
it's a lot extra work.
Yeah.
I mean, I starting with Article 3, I think I make the motion the select board have no action on Article 3.
Okay.
That's
I
an
second
easy
that.
start.
Is that the citizen petition?
That's the
Free?
petition,
Correct.
yep.
And I
Alright,
think historically, select board and town in general doesn't really provide much on citizens petitions, because it's really on the citizens to do the work, so that's,
yeah. And just to be clear, we are making a recommendation with that motion. We're making a recommendation that the town take no action as opposed to us offering no recommendation. So those are 2 different things. It's totally fine either way, just pointing it out.
yeah.
Okay. Alright, so we have a motion on the floor for from the select board recommending no action. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Would I?
Wait a minute,
Second, I.
And divide, great. Onward, Article 2.
Article 2 is the petition for the special liquor license
Yep.
for the
Yep. Next step.
marketplace and the.
Correct.
and the-
So, I mean, I'll make a motion on, that the select board take favorable action, or, support favorably Article 1 and 2. I
Okay,
don't think there'll be any
okay.
arguments here, maybe, I don't, Harry, you okay with doing them both at the same time?
I'd rather
Okay, separate.
separate them, yeah.
Okay, I'll amend my motion to Article 2.
Thank you.
I'll amend my second to Article 2.
Thank you. Is there any discussion about the application for a home rule petition? This is step one to head to the state house.
State.
Thank you, to the state, for Article 2. Hearing none, all those in favor?
Vote aye.
Women, I.
Second, I.
And Dib, aye, thank you, and Article 1.
And I'll make the motion to support favorably Article 1.
Second.
All right, discussion.
Yeah,
Thanks.
this is a
Totally
difficult
fine either
one
way.
for me, in one aspect. In another, it was already decided that this should be passed because the motion that was made at the town meeting was that if the amount came in at such and such, which it came in less, that it should be approved, in my opinion. So therefore, I guess, although I would like to see the school have cut a little bit more out of it, I am saying that it has already basically been pre-approved at the meeting.
I mean, I think if you have a differing opinion, or if your opinion's changed, I think that's a fair stance to take, and I don't think you should think that just because it was approved, or the way it went at town meeting,
Right.
that you should feel like you can't express your desire for that to change. I mean, my feeling on it,
I mean, I guess that's where I'm kinda caught. I mean, yes, we made a decision at the town meeting regarding this. They came back with a less number. I would have liked to have seen a lot less, but I still think it's a number that met with what we expected them to do. So, that's my discussion.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. So is everybody ready to vote? All right, so this is on Article 1 and on the select board's recommendation of action on it, so.
Vote aye.
Women, I.
Second, I.
And Dib, aye, thank you. All right, we've taken care of that, and now we're gonna move on to, I just wanna finish this, and then I'm actually going to take something out of order, but just so we can finish this topic, and this is in regards to the motions document. So, in your packet, you have an email from Heather, and we had, the draft motions document was the old motions document, just so we were looking at it, so everybody knows.
So
Yeah.
you could follow
Yeah.
the math
Yeah.
for Article 1.
So I think to Heather's original question, I would like to hear from the board. It would be my hope that we would have the motions document ready and up onto our website to be viewed in the same time frame that we post our agendas for meetings, and that's 48 hours in advance. And I think we could do even better than that, but let's start small and get better as we go.
Yeah, just a small comment on that, sorry. I definitely think that getting it prepared 48 hours in advance makes sense. There was a number of people that had asked for handouts at the town meeting. Years ago, we tried to go away from that just to print less. I'd love to stand by that. Somebody else had suggested, I think it was the same person, if we don't do handouts, to at least put on the projector. And I think we did that at like one meeting or a couple meetings. I think that would be a good thing to do in lieu of printouts. So if we can get back to that possibly, but
I struggle with the printing. Some people just need some paper. And I don't know where we are on paper reserves by the end of the year. I don't.
Well, one option is that we do give people a paper packet, right, that we print out the warrant. I've worked with the methodology in past communities where the motions just fall into that same document. So rather than have it be a separate motion document, you have your article, you have your motion, you have your recommendations, and you have your explanation. And it all just is in a single packet that the community can follow along with. Because I think if you do a separate packet, not only are you spending more paper, but you're also asking your voters to go back and forth between two documents, right, which can get confusing.
yeah, the only, I mean, if you're changing or editing the motions and you're not posting it until 48 hours before, now you have to merge the motions into the document that's theoretically already kind of done. So you're kind of scrambling last minute to get some work done, which is just fraught for having an error somewhere in there, and I mean,
Yeah,
I
I-
don't know, that's a little bit of a scary
Yeah.
thought for me.
I like a separate motions document. Also, we know that the warrant will have been posted far in advance. I think the other thing we can try is QR codes for people as they're walking in. Almost everybody's gonna have a phone on them, they can QR code it.
We definitely do that. So could the motions document then, since we know we've posted the warrant,
Yeah.
right? And that could be a standalone document, which would ultimately be less paper, right? Because it's gonna be void of the recommendations and the explanations. So your motion document therefore could have the motions, the recommendations, and explanations.
Yep.
Again, I'm just trying to think of how we can get the most amount of information out in a reasonable amount of time and also reserve paper.
I have two kind of comments, I guess. One is I'm a big fan of the projection. However, I've heard a lot of comments that it's really hard to see from all over the place depending on where you're seated at Glenwood. And even at Naquag, it's really hard to see the screen. And so I think while I would love to be able to work towards that, I don't know that we're there yet. And because I think it's a pretty high cost expense for all the printing and everything, and not knowing how many we need to print. We have meetings that we've run out of material and then people are upset, and we have meetings where we have a whole bunch of surplus that is waste, and so it's that balance also. The other thing is I'm all in favor of posting the motions document for 48 hours in advance. My only concern is if numbers are still changing a little bit or anything, that those motions, I don't know if there's a way to word that highlight that it's still a work in progress, or they're draft motions or something along those lines. And I don't mean that in any way to instill distrust,
No.
but just knowing that we've had some meetings where we were literally doing.
Well, perhaps we call those, 90% of your articles are gonna be set, right? But there is always,
Yep.
in the case of the annual, it was Article 4. So I think that if we, if we're clear, this motion is subject to change, brief explanation as to why. I think that the more we do this and the more information that hopefully residents will come to trust that that's the process. And if we're including them in our deliberations and our thought processes, it's maybe easier to follow.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not opposed to it at all. I just wanna make sure that we don't, again, in an attempt to be as transparent as we possibly can, that
Yep.
we're creating additional problems.
Well, this is an easy, short warrant
To try.
To try. Yeah. This is our,
Alex had mentioned that the screen would be great, and I wholeheartedly support that. We are going through one of the toughest crunches of time in terms of money possible, and I just think that if we're willing, if this town is willing to lay off
We
police
call
and
those-
fire, then they should also have to deal with that we don't have all the paper out there. And that if they wanna see what's there, they can see it on the screen. I think it's a it sends a bad message. If we spend all this money, because we don't know how many people are show up, so do we print half, do we print all and then waste the rest of it? So I think the idea of having it on the screen is a very good idea, and maybe have a few copies or whatever. But I think there's a decision here in terms of what we're doing.
Well,
Let's,
then I
um,
guess that leads to the question, what do you want on the screen? We've traditionally had sort of a hybrid between the warrant article and some,
okay.
modified explanation.
Again, to the point that this is so short, it's only 3 articles. Let's do a quick deck where it's 6 slides. One slide is the article as it was written that everybody should have seen. The next slide is the motion. We'll play with the lighting a little bit. It's obviously dark very late, so our meeting will still be in the natural light. Maybe we darken the room more than we typically would so that people can see the screen. And so we'll play with it
Okay.
this time. We're gonna use this as a test case.
Okay,
From the back, from the bleachers, you cannot see the screen.
Yeah.
Just so you're aware of that.
Okay, which means we're gonna have to encourage people who wanna see the screen to come down.
There you go.
Come on down,
Have a seat early in the front.
yeah.
Right.
There's always room too.
I was
There
like,
is
there's
always-
always
Yeah.
a lot of seats in the front, even if it looks full, there's
Frank,
first two rows are generally.
frankly, we could just not set up the bleachers. How about we do that? I don't think we're gonna.
This year we would, for annual, we would have needed the bleachers,
Oh,
for sure.
fair, true, okay, yes.
Madam Chair, would it be possible, where so many people are tech savvy, I'm not, but many people are, that people could be there looking at it on their cell phone
Yes.
from the website of the town, and they could then follow, those who choose to follow it that way can read as we go along.
Yes,
That
that's
should
the,
be a possibility,
that's the
correct?
QR code issue, and I mean, I would encourage anybody who works with laptops to just bring their laptop. I don't bring my phone when I go to town meeting, I bring my computer. So I don't, that's just me.
Even more better.
Yeah, sure, yes,
I
name and
do
address.
I do like, Megan Rokicki, 17 Private
Thank
Lane.
you, sorry, I
That's okay.
gotta get back to her.
I do like the QR code. I don't know what people have for carriers, but in some instances, Verizon, you can't get any service in there, so I don't know what your plan is for the QR code.
So there's guest Wi-Fi in that school, and there's another point. We need to make sure people know that that's available and that they know where to go and they know how to get into it. So, yeah, thank you. That was huge, for sure. All right. So we have a plan. We're gonna try some things with our nice short warrant here. We're gonna do a quick deck. We're gonna do very little paper, if any. QR codes, and we're gonna make sure people know what the guest Wi-Fi is. All right. All right. I'm sure it's not gonna be perfect, but hopefully it will be better. All right, so that was right at the top, under old business. I'm actually skipping down, for anybody who's watching, down to number 10 now, because we do have our state senator here. Thank you, Senator Grant, for being here. And just to give you.
Thank you for taking me out of order.
Oh, and we have Representative Ferguson as well, thank you. So, we were gonna start this was very much an internal issue of, out of all the bad press we've been getting in the past couple of weeks, a few things that happened were, oh my goodness, look, we're going to be getting some earmark money from the State House, how great is that? And our main concern right now is how we manage it with staff cuts and just making sure we are good stewards of the money that is coming to us. So that's how that started. Thank you both for being here. We were gonna do a quick explanation and history of earmarks, but you're probably the better people to do it.
Well, I was gonna say, if you want me to, I can kind of talk about the process, because it can be confusing,
Yeah.
it is a lot of different steps. And I would encourage Rep. Ferguson to jump in at any time. So basically, I'll talk about it from my office. I think the reps, when I was a rep, you do it slightly differently, but it's still basically the same process. As you know, so the Worcester and Hampshire district has 22 cities and towns. So we're constantly engaging with the select boards, the town administrators, the council on aging, everybody, the police chief, fire chief, anybody who wants to talk to us, we talk to them about what the needs are as they go up. As we get closer to budget season, which starts about the beginning of the year, it really starts before that, but in earnest, it starts about the beginning of the year. We start to kind of solidify what we're looking for or how this budget might shake out. As you know, the House gets the budget first, right? So we met, myself and my legal counsel Curtis, met with Heather, I think somewhere in February, somewhere around that neighborhood, to talk about earmarks, and we try to make appointments with all the towns and say, hey, what do you need, what's going on? Most towns give us a list, some towns actually say, nah, we're good, which is really bizarre, but that actually happens. We're good, we're, okay, all right, okay.
We're not good.
So we take that information, and then we start to move forward with how we're going to get, how much money we might be able to get. And in general, for us, they kind of fall into like three basic categories for us. There would be a local earmark for a town, right? A specific item for a town, here you go. Then there's regional earmarks, which we can also get. We've been successful getting like regional dispatch centers, things like that. We've gotten some radios for towns, we've gotten pilot money, things like that, that actually crosses state senate lines. So I've worked with Senator Fatman, Senator Comfort, just to try to get some additional things, so that kind of comes in. And then there are the things we try to do on the state level. regional school transportation we're always pushing on, special ed circuit breaker, things like that, that we try to get in. So the negotiations kind of start at that point. So, as we mentioned, the first thing that happens is the House starts this process off. And Rep. Ferguson, I know Heather, you had sent over the information to Rep. Ferguson about a couple of earmarks for the roof and for the roof and the pool. And then I think the next one came in as a different one as a roof. Anyways, like 3 earmarks, if I'm not mistaken. So Rep. Ferguson took those. I know she put in, and Kim, please jump in if I say anything wrong. So Rep. Ferguson put in the 40,000 for the pool and the 150 for the roof. Traditionally, we in the Senate don't put in the same earmarks because when conference committee comes around, which is where they are now, we're jumping ahead, our hope is, and often, they just take both earmarks. So if I put in 40,000 for the pool, then we've blown a chance to try to get something else, right? So Kim had put those in, and we started kind of looking around, and again, we're engaging with all the towns, and we're trying to do. The way I personally work with earmarks is we try to do like a priority list, right? So I go with like public safety, we try to do infrastructure. We've been fortunate the past few years where we've had additional money come from like the fair share amendment. So we don't necessarily do schools, or like roads, because that's included in the fair share amendment, and that's a different pot of money that we can go and try to get earmarks from that too. And so then that kind of filters down. So I know that Rep. Ferguson had put those 2 in, and she was successful. Again, all these negotiations happen, and they're actually more complex than you think, because you get those regional ones and they want to trade off something that you got locally, so there's a lot of things that go on. Rep. Ferguson got the pool, I believe, the 40,000 for the pool, but didn't get the 150 for the roof. So by that point, we were at a point where we had already had our discussions with the chairman of Ways and Means, and we had put in 50,000 for the senior center. And I was unaware, and I wasn't aware until like the 25th, that there was actually a capital improvement sheet that had a bunch of different stuff on it that we certainly would have picked off of, but I didn't have that sheet. So, and that's okay, it's just, so we just put in that money. The earmarks come along, we were able to successfully negotiate that one for the town of Rutland, 50,000 for the senior center, and now we're in conference committee. Again, we kind of expect, we just finished conference committee on the fair share amendment, and those amendments that we got in for Wachusett, I think there was special ed circuit breaker, but I know there was a lot of money for Wachusett that we were able to get with Rep. Ferguson, and again, trying to combine these and bring them forward. We got those, so those have already passed, and those were all saved, and we're hoping that the budget does the same thing, that they take the amendments we put in, and instead of saying, hey, you know what, we'll do this one, we won't do that one, just combine them, and there you go, have a nice day. That's kind of the brief process. So that's how we came about it. And I know, like I say, it can get confusing because it's kind of a mad rush, and with a lot of towns, you know, everybody's trying to say, oh, we need this, we need that, so, you know, we have to kind of, and the other thing I always say too, is like, there are things that we traditionally don't fund. So I always say to towns, cities and towns, I say, the smaller the better, right? A $25,000 earmark's a lot easier than getting a $100,000 earmark. Or I've had towns who say, we need a new fire truck, which everybody does, we need $1 million. To which I say, you pick again. It's just not gonna happen. So the smaller the better. If you're in the 25 to 75 range, a lot easier to get than 150 to 200. The other thing that we don't typically do are studies. And the reasons we don't do studies is because we're never sure that any town is gonna be able to follow through on it. So you just spend all this money on a study, it sits on the shelf because they didn't approve a debt exclusion to do whatever, fill in the blank. So we don't tend to do those either. So that's kind of like the loose idea of how an earmark might come about.
I think that's helpful for everybody.
Sure.
Certainly for our audience, because you hear about this stuff and nobody.
Again, yeah, and it's weird, it's a weird process, and it's a combination of begging and cajoling and trying to convince them that this is a better project than something else.
So I was just taking some
Yeah.
notes. It sounds like you guys, your staff came, met with
Yep.
Heather, we were doing everything right.
Yep.
We're at this point now where we're like, we're gonna get this money.
Yeah.
We need to make sure we're managing it well. And so, for the people watching, the way this works, as you just heard from the senator, they're in conference committee, the budget isn't quite done yet. The fiscal year hasn't started yet. And the town is going to have the fiscal year to spend the money. And when it comes to procurement, especially with some of the monies that the two of you have gotten for us, procurement jumps in, which of course doesn't help us necessarily now in terms of the time frame and all that. We're in the midst of losing staff, particularly with building projects. And so, yeah, that's why this was on our agenda tonight, because we need to make sure with the money coming to us that we manage it as best we can.
Yeah, and we're always happy to come and talk, cause like I say, I know it can get confusing. And I know there was, Kim and I had talked, Rep. Ferguson and I had talked about another one. I don't know how much it was for, but we did a, it's called a prior authorization continuation, a PAC. And so back in fiscal year 25, an earmark was put in that never got spent. For whatever reason, I don't know, I don't claim to wanna know, but it didn't get spent. And so we have like one bite at the apple where we can go at the last supplemental budget of the year, which takes place in October, and say, pretty please, can we just carry this over to the next year? And it did, and I think that money's come in, and so, yeah, so,
We're actively spending it.
yeah, and so,
as we speak.
yeah.
I should hope so.
Yeah, it's on your town administrator's report, the updates on that.
Yeah, and so those, like I say, those are, we can usually do it once. I've had towns say like, oh, we didn't spend it again, I'm like, oh, okay, they're getting kinda PO'd, you can't really keep doing this, but, so, yeah, but we can do certain things like that as well to try to help out when it comes up.
Okay, so those are a lot of good recommendations. Does anybody have any questions for the senator or Representative Ferguson, who's I think is probably on some weird delay?
I have a question. I sat on the capital improvement committee for many, many years, and the requests from the senior center have been many, many years that we've been trying to fund some of their stuff. So I guess I'm pleased to hear that you through the state have chosen to do that, because there's a lot of need there. And with that being said, what are your chances of think it might get approved? And two, when do you think that money would become available for them?
So, good question. So typically, at this point, there's no wood nearby. Knock on wood, the earmarks that have passed into the budget, and what Rep. Ferguson got in the House budget, what I got in the Senate budget, there doesn't seem to be a lot of controversy to say we're gonna get rid of them. So I think it's relatively safe to say they should pass. Now, one of the things you may remember happened, I'm not sure if it was last year or year before, might have been for the 25 budget. Once it passes, and really the House and Senate are working very hard to actually have a budget on time this year, so we'll see, that doesn't always happen. Once the budget's signed by the governor, theoretically, they are available. Practically, the governor gets to decide whether or not to release them. And so what happens is, you might have heard of 9C cuts, right? So the governor has the unilateral authority, she can do it all on her own to say, we're cutting, and she has the authority to kind of do some line items, but basically, what she did a couple of years ago when the revenues fell off, we were worried about what was gonna happen with revenues in the state, she said, we're cutting all earmarks in half. Blanket, 50%, okay. Now, I always say, once they become available, once the governor releases them, get them as soon as possible, because at that point, if you spent it, sorry, 50% of, I can't give you 50% back. But, so she said 50% off. Now, as time went on, later on in the year, things got better, and she said, okay, you know what, we're fine, we can go ahead and release this money. So things like that happen. Once we know that they're available, keep in touch with the governor, with the office, and we keep in touch with Heather and say, apply for these, apply for them now. Some of them are different set up too. So what happens is they decide what agency is going to handle them. And this can get a little confusing as well, and we don't always know. So sometimes they'll say, oh, you get $50,000, here's a check. Sometimes they say, you gotta spend the 50, then we'll give you the check. Sometimes they say, you gotta spend 25, show us you spent 25, we'll give you the 50, and then you gotta prove you did the other. So they do it a bunch of different ways, and we're never entirely sure of what agency is going to do it, But again, we keep in touch and we'll let you know, this is what's happening, this is how you gotta do it, things of that nature. But just be aware, it's, what's the old saying, right? You never wanna see two things being made, laws and sausage. It's messy, it's ugly, but it gets done.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Follow-up question?
Yeah.
This comes from a senior, okay? Although I am one, it wasn't from me, okay? They have been, this was told to me, and I'll use basically their words. We've been struggling here at the senior center for a long time. If we get this money, will it go to specifically the senior center? Or does the town have the right to decide where they wanna put it?
It is earmarked for the senior center, so it wasn't just a general appropriation, it says for the senior center, so it would have to be spent that way. Yeah, and there are some instances, it doesn't happen often, but I can think of one instance that happened in my town of Spencer where we had allocated something for the fire department. I think it was a truck, and everybody was joking because it was some kind of light tower. I don't even know exactly what they said they needed. It was like, here, we need this light tower. And afterwards, after it had been gotten, like 6 months later, they're like, oh, yeah, that's not gonna fit, it's the wrong one, we had it all messed up, and they said, can we use it for maybe a truck or something? It's still within that parameter. So we had to do a pack and carry it forward and say, this is now for, they let you change again, instead of this light tower, you could change it and use it for, I forget what we did, but it was still within the fire department. So they let you change a little bit, but the departments are the same. They don't let you just say, okay, I'm gonna take that money now and instead allocate it to, you couldn't allocate the money for the senior center and say, I'm gonna buy a police cruiser with it. They won't let you do that.
Okay, so because like the senior center money, the language looks very broad.
Yeah.
But it's senior center broad.
Right,
Okay.
yeah, exactly, good point, and it's a good way to put it.
Okay.
Yeah, and we do try, actually, it was after the incident with Spencer, where we try to make it as broad as possible within that category.
Okay.
But again, it's because it kinda goes to the executive, which executive department it's gonna go to and how they administrate it, so it's got a set of rules, but that's basically how it works.
So basically, your job in getting us this was to get us this.
Yeah.
After that, minutia comes into play.
Yeah, it's it's just an interesting process because, like I say, there are a lot of towns, and we try to do. I think sometimes we're mostly successful. Is there's never enough money to go around. So if you get money this year, or if a town gets money this year, you're probably not going to get it next year because there were 12 towns or 15 towns that didn't get anything, so we'll give them some money. So we try to spread it around, it's a juggling act, and then you have to, like I say, you kinda have to negotiate how you're gonna do it, what other earmarks you got, what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish on this. It's an amazing amount of fine-tuned negotiations that you wouldn't actually think has to take place, but it does.
Does each senatorial district, which is population based, obviously you have so many more towns than some of the other senators do, but do you start with, does everybody start at least with about the same number?
Yeah, it's not quite as simple, but yes, you start with kind of like this base amount, but again, when you talk about regional, then you're trying to, that kind of expands, because, well, I'm sharing it with Joe Comerford, and there's gonna be some there, and so, and then you're trying on the state level to try to get more, UGA money, right, which we passed an UGA, unrestricted governmental aid, to try to relook at that formula. And that was actually a negotiation, and so a lot of times you will actually see them say, well, I'll tell you what, we'll give you that, but you're gonna have to cut out these things. So you're like, well, okay, well, how about if I do this instead? It's a lot of, like I say, you wouldn't expect that it's this fine tuning kind of negotiation, but it's like, really, we have to negotiate that way? But that's sausage making.
I think to your point, what I'm hearing, I wanna make sure of it, is that once the two of you have done this work, gotten us this money, there are other agencies, people, whatever, to deal with to make sure we are now, getting the reimbursement or getting the check or getting the, okay.
Yeah, so
How it needs to be used.
yeah, we'll decide on who you apply for the money for. So I'm gonna say, and I've seen earmarks go in ways that you wouldn't expect, but a senior center, it might go to housing and livable communities. they're the ones who administer it. So they'll have an application process, and they might just reach out to Heather and say, hey, you know what?
Okay.
We've got 50,000 for you, just fill out this paperwork and be done. Sometimes they don't. So it's just up to us to kind of, that's part of our job, is to keep on track and make sure that you guys get that money.
Thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Thank you so much to Representative Ferguson as well, who I know tried to like move mountains to get here and
I'm here. You can hear me now, I hope.
thank you, and was having tech issues, so thank you. Was
Yes.
running out to try to fix the tech issues, so we appreciate that you have been here. We know you've been listening.
And if I missed anything, you
Yes,
can
and
say
could
it.
I just want to thank the senator, because I know a couple of times he said, Kim, you can jump in, and I was trying to. So if you want to see me sweat, I'm really sweating right now trying to make this work. But I really appreciate the partnership, and to the senator, you did a great job, and we're always here. We're here to answer questions and help shepherd things through. So appreciate the time to speak, and thanks again.
All right,
Yeah,
yeah,
always
thank you
happy.
both.
Thank you, thank you
absolutely.
both, and thank you for the explanation, because
Yeah.
I personally was one that was like, I
Yeah.
thought I knew some of it, but not the
Yeah.
more nitty gritty details, so
Yeah.
thank you for taking the time and coming and
Anytime.
educating us, I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Honestly, anytime.
I think while you're both here, I'd be remiss not to ask the question, it's off topic, but just how state funding for schools is updating, what's happened in the realm, and maybe just a 2-minute brief explanation of any changes that you guys are hearing.
Yeah, I'm gonna put Kim on the spot on this one, but I know we have passed the, in the Senate, I'm not sure if the House did, the Chapter 70 Review Commission. As you know, we did the Student Opportunity Act a few years ago. That's getting fully implemented. I'm not overly happy with that, so we also are going through the Chapter 70 review, but I will turn that over to Rep. Ferguson if she wants to speak on school funding.
Sure, perfect timing for this to work for me now. No, with all seriousness, yes, the senator is right. You know, we're in the last year of implementing the SOA, and I just want to remind people that, you know, on that one, when that was put into place, we were working with DESI projections that were carried out over several years, hoping that those projections were right. It turns out that they weren't quite so right, especially for regional districts and the impacts that we're having through the SOA. You know, there are some great parts of it, but again, not so great at all for our regionals. And we immediately started asking for that formula to be reopened again, to look at what it does to our regionals, et cetera. Fortunately, as the senator said, you know, this year it was passed. There was an amendment passed in the Senate. Was not acted on originally in the House, but that's okay because it's in conference committee right now. Many of us, including Senator Durant and myself, had co-sponsored amendments on that on both the House and Senate side. So I'm very confident that that will make it through the conference committee, and then that commission will begin its work again with special focus. It's not the SOA people, by the way. It's a separate commission with separate focus on aspects such as our regional schools and what's happening with us. And I mean, I think Harry at another meeting, I think it was you, Harry, had mentioned, I think it's like 85% of our schools are now in hold harmless. And that is a huge, huge red flag for everyone that, you know, you want to say to our friends in the cities, et cetera, you know, wake up, look at what's happening here with these budgets. We're not all making out well with the SOA. And so I think there's been a lot more advocacy recently, especially through MARS, the Mass Association of Regional Schools, and our school districts, to really go after this issue. And we appreciate that because, again, you know, our folks in Boston do need to hear from all of us and speaking with one voice to them. So I'm happy that that's finally moving forward. I'm sorry it took so long, but we'll wait for that conference committee report. But I know that there are a lot of people, including the two of us, saying that that has to be part of that final budget that should come out, you know, hopefully soon. And Senator, I'm sorry if there's anything else you wanted to add on that.
Nope, I always like hearing you talk to us about schools.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's my love. I love schools. So we're going to keep at it. We're going to keep hitting at that one.
If I may, Rep. Ferguson, this might be for you, I'm not sure if Senator Duran, if either one of you. So it would be to set up the Chapter 70 Review Commission that is what would come out of conference, is that correct?
Yes.
That commission has not yet, even though there's been all the pre-work, because I know all through, I think it ended in December of 2025, the opportunity for feedback that, so that commission has not yet officially been set yet, is that my understanding?
Correct.
Yes,
And so we don't
correct.
know who is potentially on that committee yet, or is that information available somewhere? Is it known
Well-
or?
No one would be, the names, like people wouldn't actually be appointed yet because it hasn't been finalized and signed by the governor as the final, point in the process. But the makeup of the committee or the commission, Peter, I apologize, but I know there's a bunch of stakeholders, isn't it? It's large with is it like 15 people or something on it? It's a big group.
And so what Rep. Ferguson is referring to is that they'll set up and it will say, the governor gets 2 appointees and the Senate president gets 2 appointees and 1 appointee must be a member of a school committee or so that structure's there, but not the names behind the structure.
Okay, and so because I'm thinking of it from an early advocacy point, and so it's not even yet at a point to start doing early advocacy because we don't necessarily know even that it's
Yeah.
to direct towards DESI or towards your offices or to the governor or whatever at this point.
Correct.
Okay.
Right, but what we can do is when it goes through, and I apologize, Chair Deb, I saw you starting to speak. What we can also do though is once this is put into place, it should be very well advertised. The word will get out like when they have their first meeting, when they have their public hearings, where you can submit testimony. Very similar, and I know many of you have submitted to our regular standing committees. You've been able to submit testimony or listen to a hearing, even virtually, et cetera. So that part will also be well advertised and you'll be able to participate then for sure.
Just a question, what are the chances that we can get somebody from the Wachusett district, largest regional school district in the state, thank you very much, on this group of 15?
And don't hold me to 15, sorry, that's off the top.
Whatever,
Yeah.
yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, we certainly can submit, it depends upon who has the makeup of the appointments. I don't have any problem requesting that, it makes a lot of sense. I know you'll also have a representative, I'm sure, from, like, the MTA has someone, Mars has someone, so the Mass Association of Regional Schools will have someone, so, but we certainly, absolutely, I mean, you've had people from the school committee, they've been testifying at Ways and Means hearings about this, so totally makes sense, we can always, make that suggestion, we just don't get to make the decision, unfortunately.
Fair enough, thank you. All right, that was a great question, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you all, thank you both for being here in various
Thank you.
methods.
Anytime.
Thanks, Kim.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
Thank you both.
You too.
All right, I'm moving back up to number 4, special election. We are not under a time crunch anymore for this, right? We didn't place the original Article 1 last week. And I know there was a brief discussion about waiting to see what happens with the resident petition and how that shakes out at the special that we've got coming up next week. So I think the question right now is the board thinking it wants to make a move quickly? Does it want to put a pin in this right now? Or do we want to begin to immediately talk about, yes, we still need this override, nothing has changed, but we are going to try it at our usual time, which is next year?
For me personally, I'm not in a rush at this point. I think the conversation that I think I had heard early on, and this was just kind of roundtable conversation among us here, I think at our last meeting here and briefly at our tri-joint meeting the other night, was doing something before next annual would be essentially not something cohesive or large, it was plugging the hole and would potentially be having these exact same conversations starting the budget again in September, October. And so for me, I'm personally not in a rush. I'm not saying I'm not I don't wanna consider something before, but I, right now, am not in any sort of rush and kind of unfortunately, we've done the hard work of, and we're not going to be able to do anything before July 1st. And so it doesn't sound like I still haven't heard from my circle of people that there's an appetite to do anything. And especially not something that would be more than a plug that would put us in this exact same situation next year. If that makes sense.
Okay.
I feel that with where we are in a town right now, to try to do it too quickly, if you will, to do another override would create more dissension, I think, than we could possibly imagine. And I know there are very strong feelings on both sides of the fence about those who voted for it and not. But considering where we are and the decisions we made, I would likewise like to see that postponed till later.
Anything?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I agree that it would cause disruption or cause a lot of like an uprise or anything like that, because we're just trying the same thing. So people can, if they're against it still, they vote it down still, so I think the need is still there, and therefore the desire to do it again I want to, but I also understand and see that it would likely not change anything at this point. So it doesn't seem like it would be worth it at this point. But yeah.
Okay.
And through the chair.
Yeah.
Well, Louis left.
Yeah.
I know. I was just gonna reference him. And he did bring up something, and I think it's worth noting that if we try to use the same system that we did before on the override to get people to understand it, I don't know if that'll be successful. This will give us time to think about and create a system that, if we wanna pass this, will work effectively going forward. Because, I mean, we tried hard, it just didn't work, so that would also give us an opportunity.
Okay. All right. Thank you all. The next thing on the agenda is to accept a gift, and somebody has just stepped out, so I'm actually gonna skip that until he comes back because it is his gift, and I think he would wanna be here when we talk about it. So I'm just gonna jump to the FY 2027 Select Board goals. Don't wanna put anybody on the spot here. We have goal lists from 2023 and 24, meaning for the fiscal year following. I believe because of transition, it wasn't done last year. That said, we also have the strategic plan from 2023, so we don't necessarily need to reinvent the wheel here. But it would be good to be able to start tonight with maybe 3 to 5 strategic areas that we've already talked about. And again, it's things that continue to need work. So I know for me, one of them would be big banner communications, and maybe at our next meeting, we would have smaller, more manageable action items under that. Obviously, the one for us is always financial health, right? Yeah. And that could be has to be one of our strategic areas. We will come back at a future meeting, talk about chunks that we can take off. Probably we should be talking about capital, and whether or not it's time to do long-term prep for the town to take on debt for a capital project. And that's something obviously that Harry's more the expert on. Just throwing these out here. So again, for tonight, I'm sort of hoping for just some umbrellas. And if those sound good, that's fine. If we want to add or change them, also fine. And I pulled those directly from where we were, even the past couple of years.
If I may, one of the things that has started about maybe a year and a half ago, started looking at is, and I think Leah had started to get involved in this, and then kind of with the change, things, all of us didn't pursue it, is creating not a committee, but a roundtable of the towns with the school to start acting as a regional unit in going to the state for our education. Rather than each town trying to do it, the impact of 4 or 5 towns plus the school, I think would have more impact. I did mention it to Superintendent Riley, but nothing, I just mentioned that's something I think we should look at. And I also felt like where he has the school, he would probably have the ability to create a more powerful effect if he kind of led the charge. But that's just my thought on.
I think that's a great strategic area, so basically regional activism. And I mean, we kind of just heard from the senator where some of these earmarks could be regionalized earmarks. We could be getting more money if he ends up working with Senator Comerford, which, you know, for that, the water thing and the Quabbin Reservoir and the aqueduct going through, that could absolutely, so I think not just schools, right? But getting more involved in Mars, taking a more active role, we have not done well at that. I can't.
So if I may.
Sure.
Harry, to your point, we have a draft kind of policy or plan in place that multiple iterations of town administrators had said that they were going to work with the other 5 Wachusett town administrators to see if it was something that their communities, their select boards would be involved in, and it's just never made it over the line. And I didn't bring it up recently because we have so many other things, fires fighting. I had also, Harry, to your point, had reached out to Mars with the conversations with Superintendent Riley's okay. I had reached out to Mars a year ago, asking if they could help us, meaning Wachusett, organize bring the State House to Wachusett to understand what the largest regional school district in Massachusetts looks like. A lot of the feedback from NMA and everything that we heard, how Western Mass has gotten some significant follow through on things, is they've brought the senators and reps to Western Mass and they saw how long that commute is and they saw what the pieces are. And so I think having, and I was trying to work with Mars and that kind of fell off also. So, and I just recently talked to Superintendent Riley and he's still on board with it. And so if we can somehow do almost like a bus tour of the district, and this is what the largest, and I think maybe the oldest region, definitely the oldest, or definitely the largest regional school district in the state looks like, that would be great.
I just feel to do that, that's the only opportunity we're gonna have to really make an impact down there, if we make an impact at all. Individual towns are not gonna do it. We need that type of regional power in order to do it.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Okay.
And I mean, I agree with the other kind of overarching goals. I think they're consistent from the past 5-8 years.
Sure, gotta keep working at it.
I said this before at our last meeting, the biggest challenge we've faced recently has been the monetary constraints, the fiscal constraints. And so every time we think that we're going to make good progress on something else either hits that we have to triage, or we end up going into this kind of survival management. So I just want the caveat that we can have all these lofty goals, but sometimes we can do some things that don't take money, but we now also are going to have far fewer staff resources to assist that in any of that work also.
Yeah, 100%. So, and actually to your point, mainly because there's 5 of us, so I like the idea of 5 strategic areas. I would almost suggest we should probably add human resources, again, as that umbrella, recognizing that even tonight, we're talking about resignations that we have received. We're talking about staff that are losing hours and staff that might have to get second jobs and staff that are losing their jobs completely with us. And we really should have a conversation, probably, larger across the board about institutional knowledge, what we're losing in some cases and what we can try to save, and how we're gonna do this moving forward. We don't have an HR department, there is our HR department, so, I guess I would add that as our 5th.
And
it's basically our people, we can call it our people, we don't have to call it human resources.
I was gonna say, I think kind of our human asset resources or something, because I struggle with human resources being that then I feel very strongly that we shouldn't be in the day-to-day minutia of personnel things, and so I don't want there to be that conflict, but I agree that just kind of offering support and guidance and transfer of knowledge and whatever that looks like for.
So what we'll do for the next regular meeting, hopefully, is let's try to fill those out. So you're gonna get, everybody will get the list of the 5 umbrella areas, and we'll do action, smaller, able to be bitten off action items. To Leah's point, we could probably code them based on whether they're free or low cost or high cost, and something that, we need to sort of work at to be able to get the money for it. So maybe let's look at it that way. So maybe we'll have, sounds like a lot, but I swear it's gonna work. We'll have like 3 separate areas under each strategic goal. And one of them is, we can do this, and one of them is, we think we can do this, and then one of them is, pie in the sky, need some money, yeah. Right. Okay, our gift person is still not back in the room. Do you think he's left for the evening?
He has.
He what? He drove away. Oh, right, okay. All right, so for number 5, I need a motion to accept a gift to the town. We are so fortunate to have generous people who are doing some of the work for us that in other communities, I don't think they think about it that way. We have a really amazing population here. So we are getting a solar light for the town-owned flagpole from Mr. Cannacchioli, who just walked out of the room. I'm so sorry. Had I known, I would have put him before the senator and the Representative Ferguson. I didn't know he was leaving. Could I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. With our sincere thanks, ongoing thanks, because this is one of, I think I've lost track of how many little projects he's taken on over the years and just basically done himself.
I will, I know I think when he talked about it in public comment, he had asked if it could be considered to be at the flagpole at Prescott, right?
Prescott,
Maple
yeah.
and Prescott.
Mhm.
And then he, I think, followed up and said any town flagpole would be fine, but I just wanted to put it out there that.
I personally feel like for a gift, why would I give him restrictions? I think he should be able to put it wherever he wants, but that's just me.
Is there a flagpole at Prescott anymore?
Yeah.
Yeah, still there.
Didn't it get knocked down?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Everything else there got knocked down, so.
We did Memorial Day service there with the flagpole that is half lowered and.
So I'm assuming he's working with DPW a little bit to make sure that gets installed, right? I personally am comfortable with it, wherever this person wants to have his gift installed, he should be able to do that.
Agreed.
Yep. All right.
Through the chair, just if I might divert a bit, now that we're talking about flags, did all the flags, you're here because you had spoken on flags, did all the flags get replaced?
It appears so.
Okay.
All right. All in favor of accepting the gift of the solar light?
Moed aye.
Women
Second.
with gratitude. Thank you.
And Dib, aye. Thank you, that was unanimous, of course. All right, we've just done number 6, that's the select board goals, we've taken that first step, and number 7 is, I have this here because I'm obviously coming into this a little bit later. So my understanding is that, our town administrator, Heather Butler was approved, correct? You were accepted into, an MMA certificate program that is being put on by Suffolk University. It is a combination of in-person and remote, with a schedule of classes. And you can correct me, Heather, but I believe she sort of asked for permission to do it from the board. I'm bringing it up because there is still money in that line item for when you did the search for the TA. So is this a project that we should be funding similar to how we have funded professional development for our other staff? I will say she drew up an agreement where if she ended up separating from the town at her decision prior to, I wanna say it's 2029,
The end of our current contract.
end of the current contract, thank you very much, she would reimburse us. So it's $2,850, I think the line item has $11,000-ish in it. I'm a little bit playing catch up here, so I wanted to bring this up to the board, see how you felt, and where that landed last time.
So if I remember correctly, I think Heather, when you presented it to us originally, you were asking permission to do it and any support or anything that we could offer. And then that you were originally had been willing to pay the full amount. I know no one from town, I went to MMA this past year, in addition to having the additional money in the search line item and everything. I went to MMA this year, I always pay for myself and never submit for reimbursement. Generally, we have at least at least a town administrator go, if not another select board member or something that also utilizes those funds as well. And we didn't have a town administrator go this year because you had just started and we're doing, I think there were budget hearings that night because I took some remotely that night. Chief Knipe, who had been our interim, didn't attend either. And so I think we have that instance of continuing ed, and I think that there is a huge importance of continuing ed and supporting, and I appreciate the markup of the agreement should you separate from us, that there's that level of commitment to repay. So I personally am supportive of it, knowing kind of where that line item is, and I think the value that you're going to get out of it to bring back to Rutland, especially in these super challenging times, and being around community members and leaders who are probably likely also experiencing these challenging times, I think is going to be insurmountable in the knowledge that you're going to be able to.
That's the goal. That's the hope.
If I may. I didn't think there was any question on this. I thought it was part of your contract.
Well, the professional development is part of the contract.
Right.
However, I think this is a larger ask than what may have been considered before. And also, when I brought it to you all, originally, we weren't really sure where the budget, what was gonna be left in the FY 26 procurement, what monies we would need. Now that we're this close to the end of the fiscal year, I know that those funds are available, and if the board supports using them for this purpose, that would be really ideal. I will still attend regardless, because I do think it has that much potential. But if the town was willing to cover the tuition, it would be appreciated.
How long does this take, Heather?
It'll be almost a year. It's a year-long program. I would receive the certificate at the beginning of May 2027.
And I'm assuming it covers everything under the sun for a town administrator.
There are 5 areas of specialized programming. The one that I'm looking forward to most is probably the budget and finance aspect. That's a portion of this. There's also human resources, economic development and planning. It really does cover all of the benchmarks.
Okay. Like I said, I mean, if it's in your contract, and when you came to us earlier and we said, okay, now it's just a question of finding the money. That's all, to me.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Okay.
No issues.
Okay, so could I get a motion to sign, actually, I guess to authorize the chair to sign a tuition reimbursement agreement with the town administrator in the amount of $2,850, very specifically for the MMA and Suffolk University Certificate in Local Government Leadership and Management.
Is that with the clauses,
Yes,
including all that, right?
correct.
It's
So
not
that
separate. We're including that in the motion, I guess.
that is, yes, that I would sign this reimbursement agreement that specifically includes voluntary separation. If the employee voluntarily leaves employment with the town of Rutland for any reason prior to June 30, 2029, employee shall be required to repay the town in full the amount of the program costs paid by the town.
So moved.
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Would I?
Lemon.
Second, aye.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, appreciate it.
Okay, on to new business. We have a one-day liquor license application from the Rutland Sportsman's Club. They are having a concert on June 19th on the Common. Oh, sorry, it's one of the concerts on the Common. And the Rutland Sportsman's Club would be the liquor provider. Obviously, we've been doing this for quite a few years, pretty much since the tricentennial. Is there any concern from your side, Heather, at all?
There is not.
Okay.
I read the letter. One of the things they're asking for is a concession of multiple events. Instead of paying the $60 per event, they were looking for a quote group discount. And the reason they're asking for that is because they are allowing, from my reading of the letter, they are allowing the events committee, if they need to move the band, they will be allowed to move it to the Rutland Sportsman's Club for free, where they won't be charged. So they were wondering if the board would make a concession to not eliminate the fee, but offer the group discount for that.
I think we have gone back and forth, I think, on this, and I think the more recent boards, I think Harry, since you and I have been on together, have been pretty staunch in that we weren't doing exceptions on the liquor license fees, that they were what they were, and applicants, and we separated them out from in town versus out of town, and applicants could apply or not apply. And so I think I really appreciate the offer and the potential availability to have a indoor rain date should it be needed. I think that it in a time that we're in such fiscal crisis, it's $60 per event. It's not, we're not making leaps and bounds, and there's some staff time that goes into just printing and processing and everything. I really struggle with granting any sort of exemptions to the policy.
I have to say, I don't remember 100%. I don't believe we exempted for any of the 300th, and then somebody from the events committee is here. I don't think for the times that, you know, we've had Lilac Hedge, before that we had
Baked is done, or
yeah. I think part of some of the issues here is that I love that they are essentially giving the concert another venue, which is fantastic. What that means is on that evening, the one-day liquor license no longer applies, and they will be using the liquor license that they hold at their location. And so, assuming that I would hope they are going to make money on the nights that they are coming up to help us for the concerts on the Common, which is fantastic. It's kind of become a whole thing in Rutland that we've allowed this to happen for so many years. I would almost say, let's have them apply for the dates, and then if it's canceled, yeah, how are we gonna do that? Basically, they shouldn't have to pay for dates they don't do.
Right. And maybe
How do we figure that out?
maybe that's the discount we're looking for.
Yeah.
But I think, but also I think in the past, the venues, and Tamika, I don't know if there's any history on this, but the events, there have been a few instances the concerts have been canceled, and I don't think that the licenses have been
there's
refunded.
no
And
refunds.
so
Yeah.
I think that's a little bit where I struggle also, is that what have we done in the past? And I love that there's potential that the concerts would never be canceled, that there is a backup venue. And I wholly understand that piece, but I don't know, it just seems like it's a really slippery slope to try to grant exemptions in one instance that we don't necessarily know and haven't done in the past. And I might feel differently, I guess, if it was $500 or $1,000 for a license, but for a one day, but it's $60, and we'll just hopefully have good weather on Friday nights.
Personally, I don't have a problem with the $60 for the events. I mean, we made that decision. I guess I just question of, as a town, and they are a community in this, Sportsman's Club is a community in this town, that they do wanna do all the events, but they don't wanna see the events committee lose out either.
Mhm.
And that's why they're offering their place. So if we're using their place, then we shouldn't charge them for the venue on the common. Unless we're looking at charging them the 60 for the license to do that. Because the event itself has something different in it. So if you're playing the band event, there's a place for that. And yes, we're not charging the 60 because we're not selling them a liquor license that night. They're gonna have their own place. So should we in reality still charge them for something that they did not do? Where they have their own venue to make money, where another facility that comes in, say Seven Saws, doesn't have that facility to move a band or anything else that they'd wanna do. So if it got canceled, then that would be at their peril.
So I think maybe where we can meet in the middle on this is essentially having liquor licenses on every agenda this summer. And it will minimize risk to them. So there's always gonna be 1 week where we don't necessarily know what the weather's gonna be. We could go so far as to hold super quick Zoom meetings just to approve a liquor license when we see the weather. Super fun, right? It's just like, what are you talking about? But we could, but I think that's what we should try to do. So let's prep applications, or actually, let's prep their one-day liquor licenses for all 11 more dates. Here's our first one for June 19th. We will separate them out all summer to make sure that we're not putting them in a position to have to pay $720, which they may not end up owing us because some of the dates get rained out or whatever. Is that?
Well, yeah, I was gonna, I think similar to that, we can do, if we have them on every agenda, then if one of the ones between was rained out, then that money that they paid for that could then just
could waive
be
it.
waived, like transferred to the next one or
Right.
something.
Yep. Yep.
So it's a 2-week, essentially a 2-week jump,
Yep.
which
It's not bad. Okay.
I think they'd appreciate that.
And like I said, I appreciate them being creative and offering that as an indoor backup for everything, so,
And the other thing they were allowing was food trucks. I mean, they have their own food there, but they were also gonna allow food trucks to be there for the event, move there. So that solves that problem too.
It feels very mutually beneficial, so let's do what we can within reason. All right, so I have a one-day liquor license here that needs a motion to approve, and that is for June 19th, 5:30 PM to 9 PM on the town common.
so moved for Rutland Sportsman's Club, so moved.
Second.
And any more discussion? All in favor?
No, would I?
Wait a minute,
Second, I.
And did I, great, thank you very much. Okay, town communications, and you know, this is going to end up being one of our strategic areas, which is fantastic, so this is kind of an early foray into it. We have 2 things, we have a social media policy with some updates, that's a first reading, that was in your packet. And then I have included the possibility, I wanna talk to all of you about this, the creation of a communications advisory committee. This sort of circles back to the fact that Rutland has so many volunteers doing so much good work. And because we are at this point where we're now losing even more professional staff, I think this is something that could be really helpful to us. I guess in my head, I have this vision where maybe one of the members is a high school student because we've reached out to our high schools and we've got somebody who's, 18 years old and can be on this advisory committee, and somebody who's super interested in just ensuring that we are getting messaging out in ways that every single different group can get it. Some people need it in a newspaper, and some people need it posted on a wall somewhere, and some people need it on Facebook, and some need it on Insta, whatever. I do view this as more of an advisory committee to us. Heather already, reading it, we took this committee's charge from a town that already has it, which is Belchertown, and Belchertown is definitely giving them an enormous amount of leeway, which I think could be absolutely pulled back. I think tonight, because you really only just got this today, we could say if the idea is something that everybody is amenable to, I'd have you take a reading, send your comments in about edits and changes and things. I think there was already one relative to who maintains the website, you know, we're not gonna give an entire committee access to the town website. And we could go from there, and hopefully seat this communications advisory committee this summer. So this is, and just for the record, this is very different from the cable advisory committee, which is longstanding, has always been there, it's very specific to cable. We should have had Paul here for that conversation, because he could have told us more. Anybody have any comments about any of the documentation? Do you need more time with it, which is totally fine?
Is that first reading in our packet?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't see it, okay.
Wait, hold on. Yes, the social media policy draft
I'll print it
is
out there,
there.
I didn't see
Yep.
it there, so I'll print
Yep.
that out again, okay.
Heather, do you, substantively, is there a quick sort of what's changing in our social media policy?
Well, I think that what we're trying to achieve is less about the you know, our social media policy now exists within our personnel
This is our
bylaws.
current policy.
So it's really more about when staff can post and should post and what they should post. And this deals more with how we manage our social media platforms, specifically to open meeting law and public records. We know that once we post something and if we have enabled comments, the comments become a matter of public record and therefore exist forever and for always. There are some communities that do have a policy that allows the post to be removed, but then archived and saved, much like a public document, right? That we would have something, we would post a document to the website, but the town meeting warrant, then that would move into an archive space. So similar to that. So, and then some communities, they use their social media to put information out, but they do not allow any commenting at all. Comments are turned off. This has never, in the history of your community, become a problem. So we've always enjoyed the engagement with our residents and visitors that use our social media. It has just recently become very difficult to manage and also has increased some challenges with employees who are, you know, been subject matter in these comments. The morale has been drastically impacted by some of the comments, by a lot of the comments. And I just think that the more we allow this to go unchecked, we're just continuing to paint the community in a unflattering light. Some would suggest that we deserve it, but others I think are more realistic and acknowledge that a lot of the commenters are not even from here. They're just using our platform to express really strong opinions about fireworks.
Yeah, so just
to wrap that up, I just want to say real quick, well, I just want to say, you asked what the changes were. So the recommendation would be for you to consider the policy that would either limit because it's kind of an all or nothing. Either you allow comments or you don't allow comments. So is it the policy that we go forward and just post a post that says an informational post, come and see our rehabilitated turtles, and we turn the comments off and that's the end of it? Or shall we continue in the theme that we have been right along, which is to allow that interaction? Thank you, sorry.
No, so I was pretty much.
I go on.
I was pretty much gonna say that. So when you look at this policy, it's that what Heather's talking about is section 5, comments and public interaction, and as she noted, it's all or nothing. We can't pick and choose. If we decide that we can't allow public comment on our own pages, which is very different from all the other private pages that we know are out there, but on our own page that we manage, That's it. We can't start it and stop it and start it and stop it again. And, you know, part of the reason this came up, and I think this actually has been suggested, actually somebody begged us at a previous meeting to please please turn off the comments, and we can't just do that. We need to make a decision across the board about it. We can't just turn off comments on one thing or another. This has also come up, unlike other communities, we are in a position, you know, even farther now than we were before. There are communities that have public information offices that maintain social media accounts, and it is a full-time job to really manage and patrol and frankly babysit these things. So that's probably the biggest section everybody wants to put some thought into. I agree, it's unfortunate, and yet I think we've sort of seen the worst of the worst lately, so I think now we know what we're dealing with and the worst of the worst situations. Yes, questions from the audience, go ahead, Jean.
Couple things. One, I think you already know, if you post an informative piece with no comments allowed, which I fully support, but when it's shared on WatchUchat or wherever.
Right. Yep.
And secondly, I post, you know, for the event committee, when I post an event like the Makers Market, I cannot turn off the comments, and I want to because scammers go on there and say, we still have spaces, contact us this way, and so it's encouraging people to pay money to someone who isn't us. And I don't know how to turn that off on an event. I would, if there's a way, and someone who knows a little more than me could let me know. So I have reported those to Facebook and deleted them, possibly not supposed to. Can't leave them there because people might be sending the money to a scammer. So.
Yeah. I'm just quickly looking as you said that, and it's not like you can change your event to private because the event is public.
It defeats the purpose.
Yeah.
So what I did was I put, the only way to sign up for this is through the events committee online link or paper forms as found here. I put a link to our webpage that Tamika has.
Yep.
And that scammers keep posting to register through them. Please don't fall for the scam. We delete the posts as soon as we see them, but want to be sure vendors do not send them any money. So once I put that and I raised it to the top, no more came.
Okay.
But I have deleted some.
But and it took you time to do that management, see, and you're probably not done. You're still going to get bots, you're still going to get unwanted comments, and it's taking up some of your time to manage that. And that's across the board, every organization that's maintaining a page, or Insta a little bit less, but yeah.
So that's on the
Facebook is-
event, like,
Right.
you know how you make an event?
Right.
You wanna make events, cause
Right.
you want people to come to your
Sure,
concerts and makers market.
of course.
So I could use help from anyone who knows how, if you can delete comments from.
Yeah, it looks like all you can do is turn off comments on specific posts, so,
But not on events.
but not on the event itself.
Yeah.
Thank you, Facebook. Yeah. Yes.
Quick question, Carol, Benoit Turkey Hill Road.
Thank you.
In that vein, are we talking about Town of Rutland's, or are we talking about the fire department, the police department, committees, just for clarity and for the policy, I guess? When
I think it's-
when it's written.
I think it's still under consideration.
I think, if I may, I think based on the past month, if we only turn comments off on 1 or 2 pages, then they're going to just go to other pages. And so I think that it would, in my mind, and not only because of that, but also like from a policy standpoint, it's any town government sponsored, so I would think other electeds might not because they're electeds, and like if the unions or anything have their own, then not, but we as select board and our appointees, I think would be appointees as far as either department heads, staff, or appointed boards and committees.
Right.
Is the way I see it. I think that's up for consideration.
Right, and I think I'm not sure if the library has one and the trustees have one
Yeah,
at
we
the
could,
library, but as you said, friends boards, committees, things like that, they can't.
no, so
Individual
if we
entities.
end up with a policy, it would only be directed at the boards, committees, commissions that we appoint. We can certainly hand it over to our other elected boards and say, here's what we did. Please consider this as an option for you. As for the nonprofits, there are whatever they wanna do. Yeah, but some of you specifically asked about police and fire, which are town departments, so we're gonna have to talk to the chiefs.
We'll solicit their input.
Through the chair,
Yeah.
in this, is it defined who polices this? Is it, I mean, I'm gonna read it, I'm just asking a general question.
So, if the decision is made to turn off comments, the policing would not have to take place. As it is now, we as a staff, mostly Tamika, keeps an eye on questions that come up that are legitimate questions seeking better or more information, and she uses her staff time to respond to those professionally. However, the last couple of weeks, we've just sort of raised the flag and have not responded, or even just for our own mental health, not even read them. So, in the best of times, we have done our own policing.
Okay.
Of course, with the reductions in staff time in our office, that responsibility would fall to me most of the time. So now is a good time to have this conversation while we're transitioning to post June 30.
I think for me, it doesn't seem, and that was my other consideration, is apart from all of this, that I think there's been certain staff and volunteers who have really taken the brunt in some of the comments, unwarranted, in my opinion, and I think truthfully unwarranted. But also with the reduction in hours across the board, it's not the best use of anyone's time to be monitoring this. I think it's a great avenue for getting one avenue for getting information out, but I don't see the time value to monitoring and even worrying if there's questions that people can ask or whatever, but I think a lot of the questions are sometimes even more rhetorical than they are, you know, and just point them to the website or something, for more information.
The reason I asked that was, if you have that open comments, sometimes those comments turn into complaints which are unfounded and misrepresented. So, which would be a better place to go through more of the town side, not the social So if we turn everything off, then that also solves that problem too, where I've seen that in the past.
I'll tell you, I'll go back to the regular old complaints any old day. Those were at least manageable.
Some of those voicemails have been terrible also.
Oh my goodness.
So I think where we're gonna land on this is, obviously the board is gonna take this under more consideration. We're gonna talk to any of our groups who do maintain robust social media. You know, you think about the animal control officer who keeps a wonderful page going, and people love those stories when she's doing some of her rescuing. And we are very happy to take comments and suggestions, I think, from the public on that, and it looks like we have one more on where this should head, and I think you know why it was brought up before and why we are continuing with that conversation now. Yes.
Mike Pantos, 32 Palmagussit Road. I read through the draft policy that was in the meeting packet and it seemed sensible. And it seemed clear to outline that direct, normal, we'll call it business communications, remain intact. What, if any, change is there to, I don't know if people currently direct message any of the town pages on these platforms? Is there any change to that, or does that remain the same? Or is that, is this just
I don't
comments?
think we have it, I think you can enable it, but I don't think we have it enabled
Okay.
because we haven't gotten any.
Okay, so no impact?
Yeah.
Okay,
No,
just curious.
So in the same vein, I would argue in disabling the private messages, direct messages, whatever,
Yeah.
to just official modes of communication.
And I think, as evidenced by the last few weeks, people that really wanna get their message across have no problem emailing me or calling or, so people will find a way to communicate with us regardless of what comments we allow or don't allow on our social media.
All right, and we're gonna leave it the same on the Communications Advisory Committee. I think over the past few weeks, we've gotten so many good suggestions about how to make town meeting more accessible, or how to make some changes that would get people more involved, or how to get them understanding it in different methods, because it is a lot, because some of this can be a lot. So, yeah, please let us know. Again, the policy, the advisory committee sort of framework is there in our packets, and I think right now I had it set up similar to the other town where it would be 5 members as named by the board. Happy to take any changes to that. That's a very rough draft. Okay, is there anything else on that for now? No? We obviously already did number 10. Heather, there was nothing else on the earmarks, right? I think we got a lot of good answers tonight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was very informative.
That was fantastic. So we are moving on to town administrator update.
Great. So let's just start with some personnel and operational updates. As we approach June 30th, we are continuing to meet with our collective bargaining units and managing the intentional workforce reduction notifications that have to go out. Conversations and meetings have been very respectful. They're very challenging, very difficult conversations, but I am appreciative of the staff that is participating, as well as their union representatives who have also been very professional in making this process manageable, I guess. But we are still moving forward with that, so the layoffs and the staff reductions will be in place for July 1. We received 2 staff resignations. These were from individuals that were not proposed for layoff, but did have their hours reduced. For personal reasons, they've made the decision that those hour reductions are not manageable in their professional world, so they have submitted their resignations. One is our building inspector, Harold Lemming, and the other is our plumbing inspector, James Smith. So we accept those with regret. We did partially fund our town planner position at 12 hours FY27, so we have reviewed and revised that job description, and we'll be posting that this week. And then the library trustees met with a number of candidates to replace the assistant library director. That is a position that also had some hour reductions. So it is not a full-time position. It is a 19-hour-a-week position, but they were able to fill that, and that candidate started last week. So if you haven't been by the library, there's new faces and new people to meet. So we're trying to move towards this new normal and appreciate everybody's participation in that. On a positive note, the senior center improvements are underway using the previously aforementioned earmark. Nancy Nichols, our senior center director, has been diligently making sure that those funds are used by the end of the fiscal year. It includes the installation of an electronic push-button door, as well as some significant upgrades to one of the bathroom facilities with new facilities and some grab bars. So that's great, and I want to thank the staff for inviting me over to the senior center last week for their annual volunteer appreciation luncheon. It was a garden party theme. Appetizers on the front lawn. Lunch was served inside. It was elegant. It was fun. The 30 or so seniors, the 30 or so volunteers, I think were well spoiled. It was nice a very nice event. The town has recently submitted several grant applications in partnership with our regional planning partners at CMRPC to support some key long-term planning efforts, including an updated housing production plan that will help guide our future housing development and ensure compliance with state regulations, a zoning bylaw rewrite, which is intended to modernize our existing regulations and better align them with our current community needs and development goals, and an ADA transition plan update, which will assess our town facilities or reassess our town facilities and infrastructure and identify a list of priority needs for some much needed improvements. In conjunction with that, we did post the request for volunteers for the ADA Commission, which is my intent to make that group sort of the workhorse of this transition plan and help lead the efforts to those improvements. We've received probably five or six applications on the first day. It was fantastic, so keep them coming. I think we can have up to 13 members, so still plenty of room at that. End of the year financial activity, we're closing out as we're preparing to move forward into FY27. We're obviously moving through the closing out activities for FY26. Still a couple of weeks left in the fiscal year, but the departments are actively working with our financial team, the treasurer collector and our accountant to make sure that we're meeting deadlines and appropriately accounting for all of the funds. You will have a list of year-end transfers at your next meeting. There are fortunately not many. The one big one I do want to prepare you for is going to be our legal fees. That has been a account that we have, especially in the last month or so, really walked right out to the very, very edge. So we'll be seeking some funds there. Finn Park recognition. The town is working with the Finnish Heritage Society as they get ready for their 100th anniversary. They are requesting a proclamation from the select board that we could prepare on your behalf, and they're also hoping that you might be able to attend, that several of you or one of you could attend and present that proclamation at their event on June 28th. So we'll get you more details on that. Library hours, the library trustees met. I had shared last Monday the town hall hours for post July 1 as well as the senior center. We now know that the library, they will continue to be closed on Mondays, which they have been closed on Mondays for some time. They'll be open Tuesday 10 to 6, Wednesday 10 to 8, Thursday 12 to 8, Friday 10 to 1, and Saturday 10 to 1. They will be posting this on their website, and we'll help share that information. It is important to note that the trustees did make the decision that the building will not be available for public meetings or public events outside of their posted hours. The exception that they will make to that will be to the select board, who will continue to be able to use the building on Monday nights for their meetings. We knew that this was a potential, and I certainly understand. I understand their position. We will work to find alternative meeting spaces in order to be able to make it an option for our boards and committees to continue to meet on nights other than Wednesdays and Thursdays.
Can we let the boards and committees know that while they can absolutely still do a fully remote meeting, if they are planning to do meetings off-site, those sites need to be ADA compliant.
Yes, absolutely.
So having a meeting in your house is
So
can be tough.
I spoke with the trustees today. We're going to coordinate those outreach efforts. ballots.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Is that it?
That's it,
Yes?
and
Is that
happy to answer any questions if
Yeah.
anybody has any
I
concerns
do have a
about
question
any
out
of the
there.
items.
Is there other questions here first? No?
Question on the meeting space. The town owns this building. The town pays for the heat and the electric? Yes? No?
No, so, yes, the library receives an appropriation, which we include in our town meeting, but it is the trustees' building and they can set the hours, as well as when people can come in.
And that's by state law, what
It
is?
is.
Yes.
Carol Benoit again, but Wednesdays and Thursdays are until 8,
8 p.m.
so, but no meetings.
No,
You have to be finished by 8 p.m. You can, if the building's open, there can be meetings, I
Yes.
think.
Yep.
And if you have a short meeting on Tuesdays, that's gonna be 5 to 6. I know, I think historical and sometimes RDIC meet starting at 5. So there are some boards and committees that I think start meeting at 5, but they would have to be out by 6, I assume.
yes, yeah. That's the intention of the
Yeah.
trustees,
There was
is
ever,
boards and committees would be respectful of that request,
if there was ever an impetus to stay on agenda on time.
right?
Now you've got it. Alright, thank you very much. The last thing is correspondence. I know this is a little bit new for us. I meant it. I am adamant if correspondence comes in to the select board email as a whole, it gets added to our agendas. Generally speaking, it's just a motion to waive reading to note that we have received it. In some cases, they are items that are in progress or might be covered later or might be discussed. You do not have to waive reading if you don't want to. In this case, I just wanted to note, because Mike, you specifically asked that you had something under correspondence, so I wanted to let you comment on it before we make that motion.
So, Mike Pantos, 32 Palmagussit Road, I'd like to provide you with a printed out copy. I emailed the select board over a month ago, respectfully requesting, that you, for lack of a better word, petition, that wouldn't be the official word, but, submit correspondence to the State House, specifically to the, I believe it's the state auditor, to support the the audit, which we overwhelmingly passed passed the question on 2024, requesting that the state legislature be audited, and nothing has been done. There is now a bill in the State House that was introduced on June 3rd, which seeks to basically bypass that and restrict the potential audit extremely and go against the will of the voters. So I'm asking the select board to stand with other towns, including Somerset, Wilmington, and Reading, and represent their constituents in our will to have a state audit. And I'm open for any questions.
Thank you. So this was in your packet, in the correspondence. It is whatever the board would like to do. You can take action on it. We could take it up at a future meeting and discuss it. So right now, it's technically only correspondence. So I think what I would suggest, since it is under correspondence and since we had Mike speak to it, is if we would like to have a letter crafted for consideration for a possible signature, I would take that motion tonight and then we would put that on our next regular agenda.
I'm not sure you're framing this, but I would make a motion that the board consider adopting a letter, if you will, to the State House.
So this would be to the Speaker of the President of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives.
I think the letters have been going to Spilka and Mariano.
Okay.
There's a draft included in my correspondence.
Okay, regarding the enforcement of the audit so passed by the people.
Okay, so that was a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? I think the only thing I would note is, and it's only because I've been here before, we typically have encouraged residents to take this to town meeting as a petition.
Mhm.
I clearly remember one other situation where we had somebody coming in, looking for the board to take action, and we were like, well, this isn't a Rutland-specific action, however, you as a community member are perfectly willing to sort of take this to the next level, which you still are, of course, no matter what we do. So anyway, that was my.
Could this, you bring up a good point, could this be done by citizen petition for a town meeting?
It could, I think we have enough going on in town at the moment, but,
I'm not saying now, but I'm saying in the future.
Yeah.
If you want that to be done,
Yeah.
citizen petition.
I mean, the fall meeting's gonna come up faster than you
Yeah.
think, so it's something to consider. There's more signatures required on the fall meeting than on the May, but still not an unreasonable amount. All right, so we have a motion and a second on the table. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Vote aye.
Whitman, I.
Second, I.
And Dib, aye, thank you. So I think we'll take the draft that we've got, letterhead, get it ready for us, and it'll be on the regular agenda at our next regular meeting. Is there anybody who wanted to address anything else under correspondence here on the board? You can either do that, or you can make a motion to waive reading, and we're gonna move to the next thing.
I would move to waive readings of the correspondence.
Okay,
I'll second that.
alright.
I don't think we can read them anyway.
What's that? Well, we have. Oh, yeah, a couple of them are not for prime time, but I think, did you guys redact them or no?
No.
Oh, good times, okay.
No, I read them, they're not redacted.
They're not redacted, well,
I was actually just scrolling through them.
And they're not redacted.
And I was
And
like,
I-
hey.
And I can assure you, the ones that have just come into the office are
Equally nice. People, I'm sorry, but I think people should know what we're getting. I'm standing by this. All right, so we had a motion and a second to waive reading. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Vote aye.
Whitman, I.
Second, I.
And Dib, aye, thank you. We have 2 more meetings scheduled for June. We have so many meetings in June. Thank you all for sticking with us. Thank you to this table. So next Tuesday, special town meeting, June 16th, and our next regular and final select board meeting of the fiscal year is June 22nd. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Whitman, I.
Second, I.
And aye. Thank you. Have a good night.
Everything gets signed.